One day my mentor, Mr. Jim Rohn, was speaking to a room full of psychiatrists, and he said, "Do you know what I think messes most with the human mind?" Now, that's a pretty big statement, considering you're in pretty elite company, to make a statement that says, "Do you know what I think messes most with the human mind?" And here's what he said: being less and doing less than you are capable of being. Now, I have to say, I totally agree with that. Whenever I'm feeling down, it's usually because I'm feeling unproductive, I've lost my way, I feel I'm going down blind roads. So in this video, I want to talk about why we often feel unproductive and what we can do about it. But before we get started, I'd be interested in knowing what you think. When do you feel unproductive? What frustrates you? Do you often get to the end of a day and find you had a list of 10, 20 items and you've only ticked off the first one or two? What do you think causes it? Put your comment down below. I'd be interested in reading it. G'day and welcome. My name is Willem, and on this channel I share the philosophies and the wisdom that Mr. Jim Rohn shared with me over 30 years ago. By applying and executing consistently on the principles that he shared with me, I've been able to live a life on my terms, and I wish the same for you. Okay, we all know that feeling of being unproductive, wasting our time, but what actually causes it? Well, essentially I've come up with 5 reasons. The first one is we tend to feel overwhelmed by tasks. There's just too much on, there's just too many tasks and not enough hours in the day. Now, the second one is continual distractions. I'm going to talk about that one in a little while. The third one is the pursuit of perfection. Often I find that many people never actually produce anything because they're wanting it to be perfect. Somebody once gave me this great piece of advice. They said, "Willem, better half done and out the door than perfectly done and in the drawer." And I've never forgotten that advice. And so now, okay, it may not be perfect, doesn't mean it have to be sloppy, but near enough is often good enough. Get it out there, get it done. The fourth one is a lack of priorities, and this is a huge one. A lot of people get very, very busy, but there's no priority in what they do. And so they come to the end of the day, they found they've done a lot, or they feel they've done a lot, but they haven't achieved the main priorities in their life. And the fifth one is no energy, just a feeling of lethargy and really trying to do too much when the energy isn't there. So they're the causes of being unproductive. Now, what can you do about it? Well, I've come up with 3 keys that I believe will help you become more productive. But before I share those 3 keys with you, what exactly is productivity? The economists would argue that it's output per hour. However, Stephen Covey and Peter Drucker, the management consultant, would argue that not all productivity is the same. For instance, you could spend an entire day doing emails, but have you had a really productive day? What if you spent 1 hour of that day having a conversation with your son or your daughter about a problem they're having at school or in bullying in the schoolyard? Would that not be a far more productive use of your time than spending 6 hours on email? I would argue that it would be. And so with that in mind, let's look at the 3 keys to becoming more productive. Now, the first key to becoming more productive is to have clear and concise goals. Mr. Rohn said, if you don't have a plan for your own life, you will become part of someone else's plan. In her great book, The 5 Regrets of the Dying, Bronnie Ware interviewed many people that she looked after in their final months on the planet. And she asked them, if you have any regrets, what would they be? The number 1 regret that people gave was this: I wish I had lived a life truer to myself than living a life for someone else. And so it is so important, if you're going to live a life for yourself, to design a life for you, you've got to have very clear goals as to what it is you want to achieve. Simon Sinek, in his book, Find Your Why, says that the why you do anything, is at the core of everything that you do. So you have to have a very strong why. You have to have very clear goals as to what it is you want to achieve and what you interpret success to be. Stephen Covey's second habit in the 7 Habits of Highly Effective People is this: start with the end in mind. When it's all over, what do you want to have achieved in your short time here? So that's the first key to being more productive. Have very clear, concise goals, because there's no point getting busy until you know why it is that you are busy and why you are doing what you are doing. Now, if you don't have a clear list of goals anywhere, I would ask you to do so. It's the one thing that Mr. Rohn really stressed to me, and I did his goals workshop at his live seminar over 30 years ago. I've actually done a video on it, so if you're interested in coming up with your own list of goals for the next 5 to 10 years, I'll put a link to that video below and you can have a look at that. Now, the second key to being more productive is this: don't start the day till you have it finished on paper. That's probably one of the best bits of advice that Mr. Rohn ever gave to me. There are 3 things essentially that affect your productivity. 1 is time, 2 is your energy, and 3 is your focus. The focus I'm going to talk a little bit more in just a moment. Let's talk about the first 2, time and energy. The reality is, time is the one that is essentially out of everybody's control. We all get 24 hours a day, 168 hours a week, and there's nothing you can do about it. You may want to have more, you're never going to get more. No one's going to get more. So that is a very limited factor, the time. You have 24 hours with which to do something. The second one is your energy. And I have found that I'm far more energetic in the morning. If there's things I want to do, if I want to be productive, for instance, shooting this video, I'm shooting this video now fairly early in the morning. And it's when I'm at my best. I just know from experience that unless I do these sort of things in the morning, they're not going to get done. So one of the keys to being more productive is making sure you plan your week in advance. What are you going to do with those 168 hours? If there's things you want to achieve, if there's things you want to do, they must go in your calendar. I'm absolutely passionate. I say to my team all the time, if it isn't in your calendar, I promise you it's not going to get done. You may want to get fitter, you may want to be healthier, but unless you put time in your calendar where you're actually going to go out and do that exercise or go to the gym, I promise you it ain't going to happen. If you try and carry it around in your head, it won't happen. So the second key to being more productive is don't start the day till you have it finished on paper. When you get out of bed in the morning, you should have your calendar in front of you. You know exactly what you're going to do each hour of the day from when you get up to when you go to bed. Many people don't do that. And I can't understand why they don't. They drift through the day. And the only problem with drift is this: you cannot drift to the top of a mountain. You cannot drift to the pinnacle of your successes. You've got to plan it. And that's the biggest problem I find with productivity. People aren't productive, not because they're lazy, not because they're procrastinating, they simply don't have a plan. So, key number 2, don't start the day till you have it finished on paper. Now, key number 3 is remove as many distractions as you can. As I said, there's 3 key areas that make up your productivity: your time, your energy, and your focus. And one of the key reasons that people don't produce while they are unproductive is simply the distractions that they're facing continually through the day. Now, distractions can essentially be 2 ways. They can be internal or external. Distractions internal is your own mind playing games with you. This is all too hard. I've got so much to do here. I can't even bother getting started. The things that you're telling yourself in your mind, they're internal distractions. And then, of course, you've got the external distractions. And it's always the phone. It's the dinging going off on your computer, notifications, all those sort of things, those continual external distractions. To be productive, you've got to reduce both your internal distractions and your external distractions. Now, one of the major reasons why people are unproductive is constant interruptions from other people. And I learned this one a long time ago. If I'm working on something like this video, Jennifer, my wife, knows I am not available. My staff, my team, know that I'm not available for an hour, hour and a half while I'm shooting this video. No one comes to see me. My phone is off. I'm now totally focused on doing what I'm doing and sharing my ideas with you. So that is the real key I found to being more productive. Cut out all the distractions. Turn the phone off. If you're working on something, turn it off. tell people you're not available. Put a sign on the door. I have a sign on my door, do not disturb. Okay, so that is so important. Now, I know one of the things people say to me is it's very hard to say no to people, and I understand that. And it's a skill that, like any other skill, takes practice. However, I have come up with a PDF, if you're interested, in learning how to say no to people, different ways in which you can say no. That PDF is available on the link down below. So if you're interested and you find it difficult to say no to people, maybe that will help. So there are the 3 keys that help me become more productive during the day. I have very clear, concise goals. I don't start the day till I have it finished on paper. My priorities have all got a time slot in my calendar. And the third one is I reduce the distractions. Now, I promised you at the beginning a bonus, and my bonus tip is this. And this is a little technique, and I can't remember where I learned it, but it is invaluable. And that technique is called the Pomodoro technique. And essentially what it is you work for 25 minutes and then you take a 5-minute break. No more, but you get up, you have a walk around, maybe get a glass of water, then you go back, you do another 25 minutes, and then you take another 5-minute break. So you do that for bunches of 4, what they call 4 Pomodoros, which is Italian for tomato. Don't ask me how they came up with that one. I've got no idea. So you do 4 Pomodoros or 4 blocks of 25 minutes, and then you take a half-hour break or a longer break. Now, I've tried this and I found it really, really useful. It just seems to keep you refreshed rather than sitting at your desk for too long. It allows you to get up, have a stretch, walk around. So if you would like to download the PDF, I've put a PDF together on the Pomodoro technique. That again is available on the link below. And if you find that you find it really difficult to concentrate for any period of time, I would say give the Pomodoro technique a try. Now, if you found this video useful, could you like it and consider subscribing? I put something out every week on something that Mr. Rohn shared with me, a piece of wisdom or a philosophy that I still use to this day. I've done now quite a number of videos. If you're interested in having a look at those, they're available on the playlist up there. So if you find that you are unproductive sometimes and it's messing with your mind and you're not enjoying it, I would ask you, try those 3 strategies for becoming more productive. If you do, I promise you will be more productive and you will thank me later.